I want to start with a story called After God. This is recommended by all of you. I've never heard about this. I've seen some pictures, funny enough, but never got a chance to read it. So I've seen a bunch of comments being like, hey, you should read After God. It's really cool. It's really pretty. Sold. And I do read the comments and I have a list that you guys have been recommending me. So just know that. Admittedly, I'm not fully caught up with After God, but I've read a good handful of chapters and I really like it. But I can't put my thumb on where exactly I've read a story like this before, both artistically but narratively. And I was like trying to go into the back of my brain and think about all the stories I've read and I just couldn't figure it out. So maybe you can help me. What is After God kind of similar to? The story is about the emergence of gods. One day this event happens where all of these gods start to spawn and pretty much annihilate the majority of Japan. They created these zones that are sealed off from the city where the gods operate and humans are not allowed. Some of these gods are claimed to be just horrifying creatures, abominations from the depths of the abyss. Others are more humanoid and more conniving and sneaky. There's no real right or wrong answer on what this god is going to be depicted as. Humans live alongside these gods to a certain extent, but these zones that are sealed off are like this alluring barrier for people, streamers, YouTubers, children in general, just trying to find out what this god is, being curious and getting killed in the process, turned to water. No one really knows what these gods look like or how they operate or what their purpose is until you meet the two main characters. So our first guy is a researcher for these gods and he has a bit of quirk to him, but he knows a lot about gods. He knows he wants to research them and he wants to evidently take them down. The other main character we meet is this young girl on the border of this exclusion zone, and at first our main guy thinks that she's trying to die. It's very common for people to lock eyes with the gods and get entranced and end up luring them into the zone and killed by that god. But that's not actually the case here. It turns out this girl is somewhat of a half god. We don't know why or how she was bestowed upon these powers, but she's very strong. She has the indicator of a god within her eyes, so she can't look at people normally. She has to constantly wear glasses. During their introduction and crossing paths, this other humanoid person comes along, someone that's an acolyte of the gods. So it's not the god itself, but someone underneath working for them, and they're bestowed with very special abilities. So it turns out these gods choose normal humans to kill and potentially digest or do whatever with, and others they can bestow godly abilities. And this woman is incredibly strong and she has multiple arms and just a scary, horrifying individual. And after a big scuffle between everybody, they manage to escape and head back to a research facility. This is where we find out that the main girl, the hybrid god, wants to hunt down and kill these gods. And with the help of the main researcher, they just may be able to do it. I like this story for the way that it hooks into your skin and really wants you to continue reading it. While I do think the god aspect is rather played out, I like that there's a mystery here. Every example of them is super cloudy and mysterious and you don't really know what they're doing. Not every god is trying to obliterate people. Not every god is an abomination. So you have to research and learn about what this god could or couldn't be. It makes things very compelling. I like the two main characters. I like how they bond with each other. They have a cat that's like artificially created that can talk and is very charming and quippy. But what really sells this story is its artwork. This is some of the most crisp, prettiest, beautiful artwork I've seen in a long time. And when you're drawing these godly beings that are potentially humanoid or just how their powers work, just so gorgeous. It blew me away. The first chapter is enough on its own just to show you the normal artwork you'll get and the big, beautiful double spreads. It's very creative. I like it a lot. Alone, just artistically, it's worth checking out. But if you are interested in something supernatural, dystopian, dark fantasy, this will be a great story for you. I think you'll really enjoy it. This is a manga called Bless. It might be my favorite manga I've read in a very long time. And that's saying something. I read a lot of stories, and I'm very happy with the stories that I read. This blew me away, mostly because I haven't read anything like it before. Not only is it artistically beautiful, very, very gorgeous, but the character work and their emotions and what they're trying to do is incredible. Something I haven't seen portrayed in manga this way. The story of Bless follows two main characters. One of them is a guy who is incredibly gorgeous. People view him as a supermodel, and he used to be one, but that's not really where his passion lies. He is very passionate about makeup and the art form of makeup, something that he's incredibly talented at doing, something that he loves to the core, but people have never seen him like that. They don't appreciate his talents, they think it's weird that he's interested in makeup, and they just kind of push him aside to being the pretty boy who should just model. So he feels isolated in his pursuit for makeup art until he meets a woman, a school friend, who is incredibly tall. Now at first she comes off as being the quiet, timid, isolated type. Mostly because of how tall she is, she's been kind of pushed away from everybody, bullied and picked on for having that height. The two get paired up and thrown into a modeling thing for their school. At first, this girl just wanted our main pretty boy to be the model because he used to be one, but because of her height and the little modeling experience that our girl has, he switches it around. He convinces her to be the model and for him to do the makeup. What you get compared to everybody else is night and day. It's like a very amateurish put together runway where everyone's just kind of doing their own thing, and then their stuff is serious, like legitimate model material, not only because of how she's walking the runway, absolute perfection, but also his makeup is superb. So much so that both of them actually get scouted and thrown into this hunt and thrill of their own burning passions. So this ignites the main character's drive to continue doing makeup, and it ignites our girl to pursue modeling with her new love and appreciation for her height. When I tell you I love this manga, I truly mean it. It has been the best thing I've read in a long time, and that's not to downplay anything else, but it just feels so unique. I've never read a story like this. I knew nothing about makeup or even modeling to that degree, but seeing it portrayed to such lengths and passion is insane. What was really surprising to me is how intricate the makeup artistry is, and how it turns into this pseudo shonen battle manga between makeup artists. And funny enough, it is the most exciting, thrilling thing you will read. What style are they going to do? How different are they going to be? How do they connect with the person they're doing the makeup for? Like all of these small things that make up the most entertaining makeup battle off you could imagine. Like, I promise you when I say this, even if you're not interested in makeup, like, you don't care about that stuff, please just try and read it. You will be pleasantly surprised with how much you get, how much passion is poured into it, and also the other side with our main girl trying to become a model using her height. She really is this beautiful sunshine of happiness when she gets to be who she wants to be. It's just a really compelling experience, and as much as I wish this was like a weekly thing or there was more chapters, there's only like 20 and it's a monthly, but still very much worth your time, very, very exciting, and I absolutely adore it. I couldn't recommend it enough. This one has a bit of a hefty title. The guy she was interested in wasn't a guy at all. This recently got an anime announcement, and while I am very happy for it and I'm super excited to watch it, I'm also very nervous. This story is not told normally. You're not getting 20 pages like a weekly manga, or maybe 40 to 60 in a monthly. Every chapter has only 4 to 6 pages that usually tells a short story, and then it's slightly connected to the next chapter, sometimes fully and coherently, other times only slightly. This might turn a lot of you off, but I promise it's still very well handled. It's still telling a coherent story, but it's playing into the slice of life element a little bit more. Not to mention that the author is able to communicate so much in such a short amount of time. It's very powerful and on the nose storytelling, and I appreciate that. In saying that, I am worried because I don't know how that would translate to an anime. My assumption would be that they kind of fill out the chapters a little bit more. Maybe the author can write a basis to connect the chapters and the episodes so they're not 4 to 5 minutes long. If they are able to smooth out the transitions between the chapters by adding, filler or just extending stuff further, I think they'll have a decent time getting the material they need. I am optimistic though, because the other very difficult hurdle that they have to face is the music. This is a music story. It's heavily reliant on it. So I don't know how they will approach that. The story is about 2 girls. Our main girl is kind of like a Gyaru light. She's very popular, she's very pretty, and she has this secret crush on this mysterious guy at a music store. So she starts to really crush on this guy and tries to figure out what type of music he likes, and it turns out they have similar tastes. No one in their school or class listens to the older music that they are. AC/DC, Beatles, old rock, English covers, old Japanese songs, you name it. And also aligns with a lot of old rock, old metal, old hardcore stuff. So this is where they draw a pretty big connection. Turns out the mysterious guy in her store, who is usually mostly covered up, is actually a woman, and funny enough, a classmate. So there is a girl that sits next to our main character who is the complete opposite of this guy. She's shy, she sticks to herself, a little bit timid, and that's about that. But when the main girl starts talking about her love interest to this guy, she clicks on. She realizes that who the main girl is talking about is actually her and not a guy at all. And it's mostly because her style is so different. It's grunge and metal, all black, piercings, black nail polish, tattoos, etc. Really fitting for her style. Like that's who she is as a character, but she can't really portray that at school. Now you might think the big gimmick is that she never finds out. No, she does, relatively quickly. While it's a massive surprise that the guy she likes is actually a girl, it doesn't really change how she feels, and they actually grow closer and become friendlier, and their romantic feelings start to bloom more and more. It's a really sweet coming of age romance between 2 girls that really want to express themselves, that share a common interest through music. And not only is it beautifully drawn, but emotionally the texture behind it is really fascinating. Seeing how they navigate feels so normal, very slice of life, but respectable to understanding it. Does that make sense? Like they don't go overboard with it. They're very sensitive, they're very approachable, they're very digestible, and honestly, it's just a beautiful, sweet time. They're like polar opposites to each other with how they are depicted. One being a Gyaru, bright, pretty, popular, the other being dark and brooding and mysterious, but really coming out to their own personality is the big thing here. How they express themselves, what they enjoy, and how they come together is really, really nice, and honestly, just a beautiful read to go through. I promise if you do like this story, you will binge read the entire thing like myself. It's a really easy thing to go through. It's a really sweet time, and I am very excited and curious to see how they do this anime adaptation.